Okay, so we are just chit-chatting a little bit today about investment banking and the root cause of inflation. So we've had over 120 years of inflation year over year in the housing market, which when I did a little bit of rough math, that's 14,900% increase in the price of a house. So the same price house at the turn of the century, I believe it was in the turn of the century into the 19th century, over 125 years ago. So that would be, yeah, 125 years ago. It is, yeah. Well, isn't that another odd number, too? I was just thinking about 125 years ago. We're in the year 2025, and I just had this revelation that at the turn of the century, it was 125 years ago. And then next year, we're celebrating our 250th anniversary. There's a lot of synchronicity numbers related to the 25 right now, but let's not think about that too much right now. But year over year, a house was $3,000 back in the 1900s, in the early 1900s. And now the same size house of 1,000 square feet is $450,000. I mean, they're purposely raising the price of housing. And so when I think of Letitia James, and I mean, look, he who has been attacking on Letitia James right now. So the people who get attacked the most are the ones who are telling the truth. And so I don't know what her future will be. I mean, but I know she has been heavily attacked in media related to bringing up charges. And then he always wants to say that she did something wrong against him. And it's like, well, if he's purposely marking up the price of housing, it's almost like he's playing this dance of, well, catch me if you can. It's legal. The politicians are the ones who have to change the rules. I know that's what my ex-husband always said. He says, he always said, yeah, but they allow them to do it. That's what he said. They allow them to do it. If they want the rules changed, then they're going to have to change the rules. Well, the politicians are the only ones that can do it. Now, are the politicians having this understanding that the rules they've created for the investment bankers is actually causing inflation in this country? It's like, and trying to explain it to them. And even in the states, I've called up my state legislature. Oh, I don't even know how to get a hold of them, actually. I don't know how to get a hold of my state legislature. Now, I did get a hold of my state Secretary of State because he's in charge of corporations, which I think most Secretary of States are. And then he has some girl spokesperson that's talking on the phone. It's like, oh no, we can't help homeless people. We don't have anything to. And it's like, I just wanted to say, would you shut the fuck up and listen? So I finally told her, I said, look, I said, you have people, I don't know if it's artificial intelligence or your charities and churches who are telling people of the American public to go sleep in their hot car. To go sleep in your hot car. That's what they've been telling people for many, many years. To go sleep in a hot car. You know, so, I mean, that's the whole reason they send people to the South to begin with anyway, is because the people up north say, oh, well, they won't freeze to death. But no, they'll expire and die from heat exhaustion. That's what will happen. They will die from living in a hot car because the churches are like, well, you can sleep in our parking lot in your car, even though it's 1,000 degrees outside. Well, the problem, hello, Herman Villarreal. Oh, yeah, you reminded me of someone else. Should I drop his name? Churches. Well, churches are a big problem. Churches are. I can't say churches are some of the things that come out of churches are a problem. You know, it is influencing, but churches, people are going away from churches. I know we fixate on churches too much, I think. Maybe we need to fixate on churches chicken. um, Churches are a problem in many senses related to wanting people to give money to them. They want to get, but they get money from the corporation. They get money for performing services. And I'm thinking if they're going to equally distribute it to the community, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just that when they do other things with it, or they become, they create other jobs or things like that, or create vacations for certain people in their congregations while excluding other people. I know, great, right? Great, right? You don't know what you're talking about, quite frankly. Okay, great, right. I know you're just always going to say the same thing over and over again, that I don't know what I'm talking about when I do know what I'm talking about. I listen to other people talk about this stuff. I know absolutely what I'm talking about, that there is a lot of things going on in volunteer institutions that support their that support a job for someone, primarily the pastor. So they create a job for the pastor. He gets paid through nonprofit donations. And, as long as he's fat and happy, then the pastor has a salary, even though he calls the church nonprofit. So what I'm talking about is the investment bankers. And so they're a huge problem right now because of the fact they are purposely raising the price of housing. A job getting created is a problem. Okay, pastoring is not a job. Okay, so a pastor works once a week. Once a week, the pastor works on Sunday. He works for an hour at the most. So, how is that a job? Being a pastor is not a job. It's not a real job. He has no responsibilities. Being a pastor, a lot of pastors are frauds. And so, okay, the other thing you're talking about is creating a job. Okay, a person who just has a brokerage account or an IRA, individual retirement account, or you can't count that as a business. You can't use anything associated with a Roth IRA or an individual IRA as a business expense. So how is it that brokerage companies can set up? Brokerage companies and banks can set up, and then they get tax deductions. This lady is so far off base. No, yeah, I know you guys are going to say that. Nobody is on this channel for a good reason. This is nuts. Best of luck getting all these knots untied. What knots untied are you talking about on the game that I'm playing? Because I'm playing a game and I have a very hard time untying the knots on one of my Google playable games. Um, so I don't know what you're talking about. You people make no sense. And I get attacked. The more I talk about this stuff, I get attacked because of it. And so I don't know what job creation you're creating with investment banking. Investment banking are the problem. Churches are not the problem. You know what? They give some of the churches a little bit of money just to keep them quiet. They'll give them a little money. They feel good about themselves. Okay, let's donate. Let's donate 100,000 to this church here. They look like they could use some new upgrades somewhere, and we're going to donate some money, and we're going to get some tax breaks from the government because we'll make ourselves feel good about ourselves, and we're going to donate it to a couple of these churches here. And then these people can feed the hungry, because the bankers know, the investment bankers know that we have inflation. They absolutely know we have inflation. And they're the problem. They're a big part of the problem. And so they're the ones who just materialize money out of thin air. That's with cryptocurrency. They materialize money out of thin air. And then with now, granted, now we can look at Google. They are on Wall Street. They're advertising now. Becoming an advertising agency that materializes money out of thin air. Indestructible brick. Okay, chicken. Are you talking about Church's chicken? Church's chicken, or I don't know. Chicken what? I don't know what chicken, Church's chicken. I mean, because church people do love a lot of chicken. I know that for a fact. You know, chicken, all faiths of churches love chicken. That's a fact. That just goes without saying. Chicken is very, very popular in churches. That's probably why we've got Church's Chicken as a fast food joint, even though it's gotten very expensive. Church's does have, I've been to Church's a few times. They do have some really good chicken. Now I also liked Popeye's chicken. Now Popeye's chicken is not close to where I am that I know of, unless there another one has popped up somewhere that I don't know about. But I did like Popeye's chicken. They had some good fries. I think they had curly fries, but I like Church's chicken too. And I liked Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken. That was good too. But let's get back to the investment banking. I know you guys want to distract me from talking about the investment banking being the problem with inflation and housing. They just raised the prices, and that's what Letitia James was saying. And even before Trump got elected, they were saying that he was raising the prices in housing. Well, what they said is the president. Someone kept referencing the president is purposely raising the prices in housing, and I was thinking, what president? Because at that time Joe Biden was going in as president, and I'm like, how in the world could Joe Biden actually be raising prices in housing? I what does he have going on? And then I started thinking, are they talking about the president in general? And but this was after Trump had already been president once, and they were talking about the president is purposely raising prices in housing. And it's like, that's what we've been trying to say. Someone in banking, I just didn't realize that Trump had that much investments, up until he became president. I didn't realize he had that much investments in real estate and housing. I thought it was just his big building. I thought he had just one building in New York. I didn't realize he was into banking that much, and that Donald Trump might even be a brokerage firm or something like that, or some kind of investment banking company or something like that. And now that it seems more and more that way, that's probably what he is. And so I'm thinking that Jeffrey Epstein, I know people are tired of him, but I'm thinking that Jeffrey Epstein is actually a pen name, a fake name for Donald Trump, and that he potentially and allegedly could have been doing some felonious money juggling through the Caribbean islands, because it's like when you just raise the price of an island that you own, you're just inflating the price of that island now, aren't you? You just decide, okay, I'm going to raise the price higher because I can, and then we're just going to manipulate the numbers around. We're going to keep raising and raising and raising the prices. Now we're going to drop them down. They're artificially dropped down because of all the tariffs and everything. And so then they can say, while Trump is president, then they can say, oh, look, the interest rates are down. Trump is doing great. No, that's not true. They artificially lowered everything because they artificially raised it up during COVID. And now the next landing place, and it's not a soft landing, it's a hard landing and a crash and burn for the American public, which is what leaves people homeless and without any money. That's what happens. And so the price of housing just consistently goes up because investment bankers, that's why they're called investment bankers. They have a sense of entitlement, and they're welfare. Investment bankers are welfare. Just call them welfare investment bankers, because they are sponging off the American people. They're sponging off your fixed income homeless mom and dad and grandma and grandpa. That's what the investment bankers are doing. They're sponging off of and stealing money from the future of your children, my children, your children, and they've been doing that year over year over year from the turn of the century, from the 1900s, 125 years ago. They're stealing money. That's what they're doing, is they're stealing money from the American public. And we have 14,900% inflation. I'm going to sound just like Bernie Sanders. We have 14,900% inflation in the housing market from the year 1900. And that's the problem with investment banking and investing the way that they're doing it. The way they take the money out and then they hike the prices up and then they want to make all this money back. It's like, well, that's the private sector wanting to make the money back through Wall Street. The government doesn't do that. That when the government puts money out, they don't have an expectation of money coming back to them, even though it does in many ways. It sounds to me like they're after the corporations, but the American public is who gets hurt. We've identified the problem. We know who's doing it. The only people who can fix it is the politicians, and the politicians seem to be a bunch of deadbeat, deaf idiots. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. And I have nothing else to say right now because I'm pissed.